Social life feels personal until other people's choices begin altering outcomes we never thought they could touch. Illness, happiness, smoking, and even opportunity can spread through human connections, influencing individuals beyond their own experiences. The central tension is simple. We usually explain life through personal choice or broad social forces. What is often overlooked is the web of relationships that link one person's experience to another's decisions. A spouse's illness can raise another spouse's risk, illustrating how connections change exposure before anyone makes a new plan. As small pairs join larger chains, private experiences become part of branching patterns that travel much farther. The same logic explains why meeting collaborators, spouses, or ideas often depends on people standing between us. Instead of isolated lives, the picture becomes a living web where ties carry pressure, help, imitation, and restraint. In the next sections, you will see how cascades, structure, influence, and shared behaviour turn connection into consequence. Connected by Nicholas Christakis and James Fowler makes these hidden links visible, so subscribe to the channel for more clear social thinking. In Corsica, an accusation within a marriage escalated into a chain of killings, affecting siblings, nephews, and in-laws. A later altercation in St. Louis followed a similar pattern, as anger directed at a friend's partner rather than the perpetrator unfolded. These cases matter because retaliation does not remain confined to the original dispute. Once relationships expand the scope of responsibility, when people view guilt as collective, innocence offers little protection to anyone near the conflict. The spread is not merely random violence. Relationships provide the pathways along which blame and revenge travel. A single act can trigger further acts years later, especially when relatives or allies inherit the grievance. Public witnessing deepens this process, as violence often unfolds before third parties who absorb its logic. The familiar saying about friends and enemies captures how social paths can redefine who becomes a target. Focusing solely on the person holding the weapon misses the network carrying the grievance from one node to the next. The point becomes unsettlingly clear, as violence often travels farther through relationship paths than anyone initially expects. The same network logic that carries vengeance can also transmit rescue, gratitude, and extraordinary forms of help. Kathy donated a kidney to her best friend's husband after learning his condition had worsened and survival required transplantation. Her act did not remain a private favour, as restored health changed the lives of a spouse and children too. John Lavis received a heart in time to survive, and that gift later shaped how his family understood their obligations. After Dan Lavis died in an accident, his organ donation benefited 8 people through a further chain of care. These episodes show that ties transmit more than information. They can redirect sacrifice, duty, and imitation. Paying forward becomes socially plausible when one life-saving act changes what another family believes it owes others. In several metropolitan areas, violence interrupters try to stop retaliation before one injury recruits the next attacker. That approach matters because breaking one link can prevent a much larger sequence from unfolding through connected circles. Good and bad both travel through networks, so the same structure can multiply mercy or magnify destruction. A crowd of willing neighbours may still lose a house if everyone runs separately between the river and the fire. Coordination increases capacity because a bucket brigade allows weaker people to contribute and reduces wasted motion within the group. What truly matters is not just cooperation, but the specific pattern that channels effort among connected individuals. A line works well for moving water efficiently, while tightly linked squads serve different collective needs. A telephone tree solves another problem by spreading urgent information quickly without overloading a single caller. With each person calling 2 others, the message reaches many homes through a controlled cascade. This is important because network design affects speed, accuracy, burden, and the likelihood that information remains intact. The same structure that spreads school closures can also support fraud when money moves upward through recruitment. That is why form cannot be separated from outcome. As the route changes, what the group can accomplish. Groups become more capable than crowds when ties are arranged for the task, rather than left accidental. A network is not merely a collection of individuals. Connections define the structure that gives the group its unique capabilities. Components, communities, direction, and mutual ties are crucial because the structure determines who can reach whom. In the student dormitory map, some people are positioned near the centre, while others remain closer to the edges. Two students can have the same number of friends, but occupy very different positions in the broader network. Transitivity also matters because friends who know one another create a denser local fabric than scattered ties. High transitivity embeds someone within a single group, while lower transitivity can make that person a bridge between groups. Centrality increases when your contacts are well connected, reducing the number of steps between you and others. This shift can be beneficial or detrimental, depending on what is moving: gossip, support, disease, or opportunity. The network's shape changes exposure before any event arrives, making position an integral part of the story itself. If these hidden structures help you better understand everyday life, subscribe to the channel for more grounded insights into connection. Networks do not simply happen to us. People actively choose and remake many of their ties. Homophily drives much of this process, as people gravitate toward others who share interests, habits, histories, or goals. We also shape our networks by deciding how many ties to keep and whether our contacts know one another. Another choice concerns centrality. Some people connect many others, while some remain peripheral. These decisions create wide variety across networks, even before geography, class, or family size add constraints. In one national sample, the average American named only 4 close contacts for important matters or free time. Most people listed between 2 and 6, while 12% listed nobody for those intimate conversations or activities. About half of those close ties were friends, and the rest included relatives, co-workers, neighbours, and advisors. When 2 of your contacts know each other, transitivity thickens the local network and changes how embedded you become. Personal choice never acts alone, yet it still helps build the social worlds that later push back on us. Once a network exists, its structure begins shaping lives in ways no single tie fully explains. The number of siblings in a family can shift outcomes, showing that simple structure changes development. In the Norwegian conscript study, later-born sons resembled earlier-born sons when older siblings had died. That pattern suggests birth order effects were partly social, not just fixed biological differences established at birth. Connections between your contacts matter too, because their relationships alter the context in which you live. A child with divorced parents still has 2 parents, yet the missing tie between them changes daily life. Communication becomes harder, coordination weakens, and the child absorbs strain created by a broken connection elsewhere. Centrality adds another layer because well-connected contacts move you closer to the middle of the larger web. That can improve access to useful information while also increasing exposure to whatever harmful thing is circulating. Where you sit in the network quietly changes what reaches you, how fast it arrives, and how much it matters. Influence extends beyond direct contact, as friends can spread effects through additional layers of connection. Students work harder with studious roommates, diners eat more with heavy eaters, and homeowners adopt nearby gardening habits. These examples illustrate how behaviour can spread across connections without formal rules or explicit coordination. Even more surprising is hyperdyadic spread, where effects travel through friends, friends of friends, and beyond. This broader spread helps explain why one person's actions can impact the lives of strangers several steps away. To detect such movement, researchers need the entire network, not just isolated pairs viewed individually. They also need repeated observations, as a single snapshot cannot reveal how influence travels or fades. The children's game telephone offers a simple model of this problem, as each person passes along prior distortions. Money, germs, gossip, turnout, smoking, and weight all become easier to understand once indirect exposure is considered. Human experience therefore includes pressures arriving through chains we rarely see, even when no one seems to be addressing us directly. Not every social effect spreads through one contact alone, as some behaviours require reinforcement from several people. That is why quitting smoking may need surrounding a smoker with multiple non-smokers rather than just one example. Milgram's sidewalk experiment demonstrated the same logic, as larger crowds drew more passers-by to look upward. One person influenced some observers, but several people together created much stronger copying with little added instruction. Beyond this, networks can display behaviour that no member fully controls or even perceives while participating. The wave in a stadium moves as a collective pattern, not as a plan issued by one commanding spectator. Flocks of birds show a similar principle, as group movement can outperform any single creature's isolated judgment. These patterns are called emergent properties, meaning the whole acquires qualities not found in one part alone. The cake analogy makes this vivid, as combined ingredients produce a taste that no ingredient contains by itself. Social networks therefore deserve study as living systems whose shared behaviour cannot be reduced to separate individuals. The world may seem vast, yet network structures keep most people only a few steps from one another. Milgram's letter experiment suggested 6 degrees of separation, and later email work reached a similar global result. While such broad connections exist, their influence tends to fade after about 3 degrees. Proposed reasons include weakening signals, unstable ties across longer chains, and human evolution in smaller groups. Even with this limit, ordinary people still reach thousands through friends, co-workers, relatives, and their further contacts. This changes how we view responsibility, as actions ripple beyond the moment and beyond those immediately present. Private behaviours become part of a larger social physiology, shaped by connections, contagion, and shared adjustments. The deepest change in understanding is that human beings achieve and suffer many things together, not separately. A useful starting point is to notice the routes through which help, imitation, blame, and courage already move around you. If you want clearer ideas that connect daily life to wider patterns, subscribe to the channel and keep building wiser ties.